minutes and talk with you guys about exponents. I want you to so clearly understand what exponents mean that whenever you see them, you just breeze right through it. Exponents are great, and the reason is that they really are abbreviations so that you don't have to write things out so much. For example, if I have 2 to the 4th power, and I can also call that 2 to the 4th degree or 2 to the 4th power. If I look at that, then this number up here, kind of up in the air to the right, is what I'm calling the exponent. So this is your exponent right here. And the number that it goes with, or sometimes the letter or the variable that it goes with, is called your base. So in this case, 4 is your exponent and 2 is your base. Now what exponents mean is they are telling you how many times a certain number or letter, the base, is used as a factor. How many times it's multiplied by itself. So this means that I've got a lot of 2's. I've got 4 2's that are multiplied together by each other. So I've got 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That's what that means. It means how many 2's are multiplied all by each other. So these are my factors. 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, and 16 is my product. If I'm doing that very same thing with variables, I would have something like x to the 3rd power, or I could say x cubed, and that means x is my base, 3 is my exponent, so I've got x times x times x, and that's what that means, and that's what I want you to understand. If you've got 4 to the 2nd power times x to the 4th power, and let's see if we understand what that means. We've got 2 exponents. We've got 2, which is an exponent that goes with the base of 4. So that means I've got 2 4's, and those 2 4's are multiplied by each other. This is just how many times 4 is multiplied by itself. So there are 2 4's sitting there. There are 4 x's. So you see why it's abbreviation, don't you? X times x times x times x. And that gets kind of long and drawn out to write all the way out. But this is what this means, and you will know that every time you see it. You run into the word evaluate sometimes, and what that means is go a step further and find the value of something. So let's do that. If we've got 4 times 4, then 4 times 4 is 16. That is the value of 4 times 4. So we have evaluated this, and we don't really ever leave this all stretched out this way. It's just that we want to understand what it means. Our final solution would be 16x to the 4th power. It's the very same thing as this, and it's the very same thing as this. In this form, our exponent is clearly 4. Careful with the base now. Our base is, what does that 4 go with? Well, that 4 goes with the x, only the x. It means I've got 4 x's. That's what we said it meant. It does not mean I have 4 16's. We already took care of that. We had 2 4's, 4 times 4. We evaluated that to be 16. We're done with that. X, we have 4 of them, x to the 4th power. So that's clearly your exponent of your base, x. Let's take a look at one like 1 to some power. I'll just choose 4. And that means that I've got 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. It means that my exponent or my power or my degree, I could say any of those, is 4, and my base is 1. So this tells me how many times, 4 times, that I've got 1 as a factor or multiplied by itself. 1 times 1 is 1 times 1 is 1 times 1 is 1. Whoa! Because anytime you multiply 1 by itself, 1 by 1, you're always going to get 1. You could do it 100 times. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 and blah, 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 blah. As long as you want to, you're still going to get 1. And so when patterns like that happen and rules kind of just emerge, a lot of times they're written as formulas or as rules. So let's learn this one. Let's just say that we understand that 1 raised to any power, and let's just say any positive power for now, because we'll have another kind later, but just say, 1 to anything really, any positive power is going to always equal to 1. So no matter whether I have 1 to the 10th power, 1, because it just means 1 times 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 1. It's still 1. Or if I have 1 to the 3rd power, it's still 1. So no matter what, 1 to any power, any positive power, is going to always equal to 1. Next thing I really want to look carefully with you is about parentheses in working with exponents, because I always say parentheses are powerful because they are. They change the meaning completely. So let's take a look at that. If I have 3x squared, no parentheses, then I know from up above that I clearly understand that means I've got 1, 3, and I've got x 2 times. I've got x twice multiplied together. That's what that means. So I've got 3 times x times x. I could put a dot there if I wanted to. 3 times x times x. That's what that means. My exponent is 2. My base is only x because that exponent goes with the x. It does not go with the 3. All right, now let's take a look at this one. Let's say we've got 3x and we've got a square out there and we have the parentheses. Now let's think carefully what that means. Exponent tells you how many times the base is multiplied by itself. So let's get clear on what the base is. Well, the exponent is clearly 2. We know that. That's definitely the exponent. All right, well, what is the base? The base is what the exponent goes with. In this case, because the parentheses have grouped the 3 and the x together, then the 3 and the x is like one term, and there are 2 of those. So what this means is I've got 3x, and I've got another 3x, and those are multiplied together. My factors, I've got 2 factors, and they are 3x, that's one factor, and 3x, another factor. You see the difference in this one over here, where it says I've got 3 just one time, but I've got x 2 times. But when you put parentheses around it, and the exponent is outside, then that exponent goes with the whole thing, and you've got 2 of everything in there. So I've got 3 twice and I've got x twice. If I wanted to evaluate that, because sometimes I do, then I would say 3 times 3, because we know how to multiply, and I already understand from our previous, well, let's just do it right here. X squared means x times x. So if I've got x times x, I understand that's the same thing as writing x squared. If I want to write it as x squared or x times x, I can write it as either one. What I really wanted you to look at right here is just the difference parentheses make. We'll do a lot more work with that later, a lot more in more detail, but for right now I just want you to be aware. When you see parentheses, I want you to really notice and really take a good hard look at how they are used and how they are placed. So this segment gave you an introduction to exponents, what they are, how wonderful they are because they save us so much time and so much writing, and wonderful abbreviations, clear understanding of the meaning of base and what that is and how important that is and how important parentheses are. So take that and work with it, master it, and I will see you again soon. Thanks.